All right, finance students, we're wrapping up chapter 6 here with practice problem 6.5, kind of putting everything together in a couple of last big problems. I'm going to let you try this first one yourselves, trying to figure out the balance on your child's 18th birthday if you have all these things going on at the same time. There's a couple different ways to figure that one out and come up with the same answer, so I'm going to let you try that. Let's take a look at the second one here on ICA 6.5 and see what we can do with that. You and your spouse are thinking about buying a house. The total cost is $175,000, and you plan on paying 20% of the cost up front to avoid PMI. PMI is mortgage insurance, is what we have, principal mortgage insurance that you have. The bank will lend you the money at 6.5% for a 30-year loan. If you borrow the money, what will your monthly payment be? Taxes and insurance are included in this problem. How much of the first payment will be applied to interest and the principal? So a couple of specialized calculations that we're going to do, but the first one we need to look at is what's our monthly payment be. So we are trying to find our monthly payment. And notice the periods that we're working on are not annual periods, are monthly periods. So we have to keep that in mind. All right, so let's go through and enter in what we know. So the present value of this loan, well, how much are we borrowing? Well, the total cost is $175,000, and we are paying 20% of the cost up front. So that means we are borrowing 80% of the $175,000. So we can run that calculation. We just want 80% times 175,000. So we have, oops, it helps if I actually put in my equal sign. There we go. So that shows that we're actually going to be borrowing $140,000 from the bank. Okay. Interest rate. So we have a 6.5% interest rate, but we are working in monthly periods. So we need to make sure that we plug in a monthly periodic rate, 6.5% divided by 12. So we take our annual rate divided by the number of compounding periods per year. So that gives us about a 0.54%. And number of periods, then we take the number of years, 30 years, times number of compounding periods per year, 360 that we have. Now, the balance of our loan at the end of that 30 years, we hope, is zero. So that would be our future value of that loan. We're going to be paying it off until it gets down to the point of zero. So now that we have that information, we can actually calculate our payment using the PMT function. Rate, 5.54. My number of periods is 360. Present value is 140. We're going to close that out. We hit enter. So we have a payment. Our principal and interest is going to be about $884.90. Now, to calculate the interest of the first payment, we're going to use a couple of new functions. We're going to use the I payment function and the P payment function. And what that is, if we do a function search, IPMT, okay, the I payment function, what that does is that tells us what percentage of a certain number of payments between 0 or 1 and 360 is actually going to go to interest, and what percentage of that payment or what dollar amount of that payment is going to go to pay off the principal. So we look at this. And so we can plug in our rate of 0.54, okay? And the period we're looking for is the first period. So the question says, how much of the first payment will be applied to interest? So we want period 1. Number of periods is 360. My present value then is 140,000. My future value is 0. We click OK. And what we see out of that first $884.90, $758 is only going to pay off interest that we have. Those are payment schedules that we see, mortgage payment schedules, very typical. To find the principal amount, you can do one of two things. You can actually take your 884 minus your 753 and or 758, and what's left is your principal, or you can use the P payment function, PPMT, P payment function, principal payment function, same thing, rate. We plug that in, a rate of 0.54, number of periods, we want period, first period. Number of periods is 360, present value is 140, future value is 0. So of that first payment, only $126.56 would go to principal. And you can play around with that and adjust the numbers and adjust the payment. Let's say how much of payment, 250, would go to interest. Really still less than half. Your payment 250 is less than half. So that's how you calculate the interest on a specific payment and the principal on a specific payment that you would have there.